In that breaking news, Vice President Kamala Harris just finished speaking at her first presidential campaign rally in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Savannah Louie. Some state board election officials now calling this whole thing a circus, saying some showed up to the meeting, but others were nowhere to be found. And a family demanding answers after a 27-year-old veteran was found dead in the DeKalb County jail. This happening back in March. Since then, his family says things are not adding up. They're now trying to figure out who is responsible for doing this. Atlanta News first Blake Devine joins us live from where those documents were first discovered. So Blake, we understand hundreds of these documents were found. I'm excited about this. I got fingers crossed over here. Yes, you should too.
No, I think it'd be great. Yeah.
All right, well, tonight, one of the film industry's biggest stages, one step closer to coming here to Atlanta.
Yeah,
this is a pretty wild story here. Santa Monica police say they were using their drone to survey beach crowds. This is over near the Santa Monica Pier. That's when they spotted this man on your screen, that left side of your screen here, trying to open up cars in a parking lot. Atlanta News first, staying on top of more breaking news tonight. A business owner killed in a targeted shooting in Atlanta's Old Fourth Ward neighborhood. Police investigating that scene of the deadly shooting on John Wesley Dobbs Avenue. That's where we find Atlanta News first anchor Tori Cooper tonight. Yasmina Alston live outside the jail for us today. Yasmina, this family claims Christian Collins was left lying in that jail for hours the day that he died. This is extremely new research, but it offers a little hope here to reducing the number of cats without homes. Scientists say cat birth control might offer a better alternative. Officials emphasizing just how complex this search has been and will continue to be. Operations now turning to find more debris, anything really that can help experts answer how or why this may have happened. Now, airlines like Atlanta-based Delta are struggling to get their operations back to normal. Atlanta News first, Asia Wilson is at the airport with what these passengers are grappling with. The college football season just a few weeks away, and one man loves it so much he's amassed an amazing collection of more than 500 college football helmets. This is pretty incredible. A Pike County church rising from the ashes after a lightning strike is believed to have burned their building to the ground.
If you weren't a TV news anchor and journalist, maybe a car salesman for Jeep?
Easily. She had me at the heated steering wheel. Oh my gosh, I'm on board.
Atlanta News First starts now with a First Alert Weather Day.
Now at 3, First Alert radar tracking widespread storms starting to move in North Georgia, bringing the threat of even more flash floods. I'm Alan Devlin.
And I'm Savannah Louie. You want to keep those umbrellas handy throughout the rest of the week here. We have First Alert meteorologist Cutter Martin tracking this system. And Cutter, when we're going to see all of these downpours?
Yeah, we're already starting to see the first few down by hour coming up in just a few minutes.
Cutter, thank you. And with even more rain on the way, some families up in Cobb County are now bracing for more as they try to recover from this last night's severe weather.
In one Smyrna neighborhood, flash flooding left cars underwater and forced more than a dozen people from their homes. Atlanta News First Asia Wilson reports from Coopers Creek Circle. Atlanta supporters now rallying behind Vice President Kamala Harris.
Georgia's Harris for President campaign just gathering hours ago. Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Schramm tells us the headliners included well-known Georgia Democrats.
Vice President Kamala Harris is the presumptive Democratic Party nominee, but it's not a done deal just yet.
Atlanta News First anchor and attorney Joy Lim-Nakrin now following the long road up ahead. Joy, this isn't necessarily going to be an easy one.
Absolutely, Savannah.
The number of COVID cases is spiking across the country.
And the number of hospital visits, the Atlanta-based CDC reporting nearly 40 states, including Georgia, are reporting high COVID activity levels. And emergency room visits are at their highest for COVID-19 since February.
The virus continues to evolve to stay ahead of our immune system. So
if you do get sick, follow the current guidelines. Isolate yourself from others until you're fever-free for at least 24 hours without the help of any fever-reducing medications and until your overall symptoms improve. 2 fishermen with a scary close encounter.
The near-death experience after a whale slams into their boat and the heroes who jumped in to save them.
Savannah Louie joins us with that new detail. Savannah?
Alan, Tracy, Paul Henry Nargeolet, nicknamed Titanic's greatest explorer, also works as director of underwater research for EM Group and RMS Titanic Incorporated, which is headquartered in Peachtree Corners. But tonight, he's better known as one of the men possibly clinging on to hope while time runs out.
The search for a missing submersible intensifying tonight. More search and rescue vessels are gathering as the U.S. Coast Guard confirms a Canadian aircraft detected underwater noises in the search area.
We need to have hope, right? But I can't tell you what the noises are. But what I can tell you is, and I think this is the most important point, we're searching where the noises are, and that's all we can do at this point.
Among those on board, Paul Henry Narjolet, Director of Underwater Research for EM Group and RMS Titanic Incorporated, headquartered in Peachtree Corners.
Je suis Paul-Henri Narjolet.
According to the company, Narjolet has completed 37 dives in a submersible to the Titanic and led the first recovery expedition to the Titanic in 1987. He also supervised recovery of 5,000 artifacts, including a 20-ton section of the ship's hull. Extraordinary missions earning him an extraordinary reputation.
Worked with him over the last 30 years. He was one of our dive masters at RMS, and he's just an all-around good guy.
U.S.-based Ocean Gate Expeditions operated the voyage, now at the center of the search and rescue. It takes tourists to the famous Titanic shipwreck in the North Atlantic Ocean, nearly 2.5 miles underwater. Narjolet previously led 6 expeditions to the Titanic's wreckage site through the company.
I'm 82. I've met thousands of people, really, and of all the people I've ever met, he was by far the most fascinating and interesting.
Friends of the missing diver note his passion for the ship and the stories surrounding it.
He would just tell you the most amazing stories. And I think a lot of people are Titanic lovers. They have, the stories are so interesting.
Now, we've reached out to EM Group and RMS Titanic Incorporated. We have not yet heard back. And as for those underwater noises, well, the U.S. Coast Guard says data from the Canadian aircraft has been shared with the U.S. Navy experts for more analysis, and that will also be used in those search efforts.
A person's golden years are supposed to be time to finally relax after spending decades building a life and career.
Yeah, and raising kids too, but instead some are spending years chasing around infants and caring for teenagers. That's not what you want to do when you're over 50, that's for sure. Atlanta News First anchor Savannah Louie learned Georgia's Department of Human Services has resources that could help you or someone you know.
Raising one generation is no walk in the park, but raising two?
Being a grandparent, raising the grandkids is just a learning process.
For Carolyn Haith, raising 3 grandchildren is just as rewarding as it is challenging.
You've gotten older, you've gotten a little set in your ways, and you've got, your own set of rules.
On top of a generational gap, grandparent-led families often lack resources and support.
All over Georgia, they don't have grandparent support groups. So they call from all different directions.
That's where Linda Sanders steps in with Grandma's Hands Outreach, providing education, support groups, and resources like gift cards and food for grandparents, all while raising 5 of her own grandchildren.
I know from my own personal experience the weight and the heaviness that comes with that.
But that aid at risk. 1 in 4 grandparent-led households experienced food insecurity during the pandemic, and just over half of grandparent-led families are in the South, a region with food insecurity rates above the national average. Families and the resources they rely on now struggle to bounce back.
When I started the organization, I was in a place that I could provide them with gift cards, but there's not always funds available for me to provide that.
Even the nonprofit's beloved Thanksgiving tradition, 1 week's worth of meals for grandparent-led families, now canceled after losing access to a van that drives the food to homes in the metro.
Every year they do that, and it's a really big help.
As organizations work harder to find solutions, bonds within the group form stronger than ever.
It's like a close-knit family of grandparents. We're all helping each other.
In Atlanta, Savannah Louie, Atlanta News First.
Atlanta News First is highlighting movie magic all week long as we broadcast live from Assembly, Atlanta. Well, a Georgia town transformed into a living Hollywood backlot seemingly overnight. Well, you might recognize these pockets of Coweta and Forsyth counties in your favorite movie, TV show, or magazine cover. Atlanta News First anchor Savannah Louie introduces us to the locals who take us on a tour of their hometown turned Hollywood.
Horrifying moments in AMC's The Walking Dead. But fear hit historic downtown Sonoy before production even began on this street.
My being a new merchant on the street, that kind of scared me, terrified me at first, but it was such an experience.
Julie Brown, a former store owner, now happily operates Georgia Tour Company, bringing eager tourists.
They immediately scream, "Oh my gosh, I see it, I know this,"
to her hometown's iconic film locations.
This area that we're in is very prominent to that because you do see
this contortionist coming down the stairs.
This 200-year-old home, a temporary set for The Walking Dead. Another element to its storied history, says homeowner Judy Beatty.
It's exciting to be part of it. I'm just a little speck in the timeline.
I think it's been one of the better things that has happened recently for Georgia.
Just a few miles down the road, Joe Stansel owns about 100 acres of land where this cabin was specially built for the 2012 film Lawless.
Well, Mr. Bondrin, do I get the job?
The amount of detail that those craftspeople involved in the movie industry, what they went to make it happen.
The property also serving as a set for photo shoots and other productions, including CBS's MacGyver and The Walking Dead.
Inside this old mill, this is where the finale of The Walking Dead Season 2 was shot. Many of the tens of thousands of people who have visited this place have been moved to tears.
And just meters away, a waterfall you'll recognize in Warner Brothers and Oprah Winfrey's The Color Purple. Slated to hit theaters Christmas Day 2023.
They were great guests.
And I'm sure the paycheck doesn't hurt either.
And that didn't hurt my feelings either because we got to pay taxes.
On public property, a 10-minute drive to neighboring Fayette County, Stars Mill Waterfall in WandaVision, The Conjuring 3, and Sweet Home Alabama.
Peaceful, tranquil, get out there on the rocks. They can actually do some water scenes.
For the tens of thousands of superfans from all 7 continents drawn to the small town sites, a little surprise sparked at what the town offers beyond the backdrops.
A lot of folks are moving here. They're picking up their homes in California and Florida, and they're moving here and wanting to be a part of this.
In Sonoy, Savannah Louie, Atlanta News First.